Greetings and welcome to the Black Foundation Podcast. This podcast will explore a series of themes related to the Black Foundation's Mind, Body, Spirit initiative. In this episode, we're examining a presentation by Dr. Edward Poe, which discusses perception using the Zulu game of Laba Laba as a case study. Throughout the course of this presentation, you will hear the voices of several people, mine, Kamal Rashid, Dr. Edward Poe, and Andrea Newton as the voice of God in a poem that we'll be presenting later.
If you look at this geometric figure, what do you see? For those unfamiliar with the Zulu board game known as Umlabalaba, you may merely see a diagram composed of three squares of different sizes, arranged such that the smallest square is in the middle, the largest square is the outermost, and the third square is in the middle. Moreover, you will notice that the squares of the diagram are apparently connected at their corners by four diagonal lines, as well as two bisecting horizontal lines and two bisecting vertical lines. You might also imagine that this is perhaps the representation of a spider web, or perhaps the ceiling of a room at the top of a skyscraper. A Zulu, on the other hand, would recognize immediately that it is a representation of a familiar board game and supply, in his mind's eyes, the 24 missing, 12 black and 12 white tokens. Moreover, he might compare the board to his traditional homestead, where the innermost square represents the kraal where the family's cattle are kept at night, the middle square, the perimeter of the hut set encircle the kraal, and the perimeter of the third and largest square as the wall or fence that encloses the homestead. He might add that the lines represent spears or guns, isibamu, used in capturing cattle, and that the missing tokens represent his cows and the cows of his opponent. Surely, because of his cultural knowledge, the diagram becomes more meaningful. A learned Kemetian, or ancient Egyptian, however, might see in the diagram the image of a step pyramid as viewed from the sky. Here, the outer square for him represents the spirit, the second square the mind, and the smallest square the body. The empty, lineless space in the middle represents the area from which Atum rose into the heavens, and the 8 lines, the 8 paired gods of the beginning, were He, Hehet, Nun, Nunet, Tenem, Tenemet, Ket, and Keket. The 3 spots or joints in each of the lines would most certainly bring to mind the 3 creative forces, Heka, Sha, and Hu, that Ta used to create the universe. The 12 black and 12 white tokens, missing in the image, may to him represent the hours of the night and the day, respectively. Moreover, the 4 sides of each square may bring to his mind the 4 children of Nut, which is heaven, and Geb, earth, who were Isis, Osiris, Set, and Nephi. And for more information about that, you can see my article, The Symbolism of Umlabalaba Board with respect to ancient Egyptian Kemet cosmology, for greater detail. That is, an observer sees an image not only with his or her eyes, but with his or her mind, that is, cultural knowledge and experience as well. If we consider, for example, the concept of God to be something like a mirror, when we look at him or her, we see the mirror, but we see the reflection of our learned cultural conceptualization of him or her. Thus, the Christian sees Christ, but other cultures associate the Godhead with Shiva, Jehovah, Jah, Gichimanitu, Inti, etc. Thus, though the mirror is one and the same, there being only one true God, or reality, what we see, the mirror plus our reflection, is necessarily different because it represents an image created by our mind rather than just by our eyes. This analogy can be extended to self-esteem. When we look in the mirror, do we see ourselves positively or negatively? If we have a good opinion of ourselves, we say, I am so beautiful. But on the other hand, if we view ourselves negatively, we come to the opposite conclusion. Often, for tropical people, we're made to look at ourselves through the eyes of the oppressor. And instead of seeing something beautiful, we see only ugliness, as illustrated by the poem that we're going to recite below. The name of the poem is Lord, Why Did You Make Me Black? And it deals with the query of a Black person with low self-esteem, mainly because he is viewing himself through the eyes of his oppressor.
Lord, Lord, why did you make me black? Why did you make me someone the world wants to hold back? Black is the color of dirty clothes, the color of grimy hands and feet. Black is the color of darkness, the color of tired, beaten streets. Why did you give me thick lips, a broad nose, and kinky hair? Why did you make me someone who receives the hatred stare? Black is the color of a bruised eye when someone gets hurt. Black is the color of darkness. Black is the color of dirt. How come my bone structure is so thick? My hips and cheeks are high. How come my eyes are brown, not the color of the daylight sky? Why do people think I'm useless? How come I feel so used? Why do some people see my skin and think I should be abused? Lord, I just don't understand. What is it about my skin? Why do some people want to hate me and not know the person within? Black is what people are listed when others want to keep them away. Black is the color of shadows cast. Black is the end of the day. You know, my own people mistreat me, and I know this just isn't right. They don't like my hair or the way I look. They say I'm too dark or too light. Lord, don't you think it's time for you to make a change? Why don't you redo creation and make everyone the same?
Why did I make you black? Why did I make you black? Get off your knees and look around. Tell me, what do you see? I didn't make you in the image of darkness. I made you in the likeness of me. I made you the color of coal, from which beautiful diamonds are formed. I made you the color of oil, the black gold that keeps people warm. I made you from the rich, dark earth that can grow the food you need. Your color's the same as the panther's, known for her beauty and speed. Your color's the same as the black stallion, a majestic animal is he. I didn't make you in the image of darkness. I made you in the likeness of me. All the colors of a heavenly rainbow can be found throughout every nation. And when all those colors were blended well, you became my greatest creation. Your hair is the texture of lamb's wool. Such a humble little creature is he. I am the shepherd who watches them. I am the one who will watch over thee. You are the color of midnight sky. I put the stars glitter in your eyes. There's a smile hidden behind your pain. That's the reason your cheeks are high. You are the color of dark clouds formed when I send my strongest weather. I made your lips full so when you kiss the one you love, they will remember. Your stature is strong, your bone structure thick to withstand the burdens of time. The reflection you see in the mirror, the image looking back at you, is mine.
The purpose of this presentation and of our foundation's Rising Star Initiative is to make us see ourselves through our own eyes. And the preceding poem, credited to Runette Nia Ibo, goes a long way into bringing this about. And finally, before we start our interview, if we could also see what others see when regarding anything, wouldn't life be much richer? And wouldn't it lead to greater harmony and understanding? Indeed, yin and yang should be regarded as complementary rather than antagonistic. Without the one, the other cannot exist. Let us all then make an effort to expand our minds so that the negative forces of antipathy will give way to harmony and a more peaceful coexistence.
So I have several questions for you, Dr. Poe. My first question is this: why did you write The Eye of the Beholder?
Well, I wrote it in order to try to explain why many tropical peoples accept the narrative that they are naturally inferior, rather than realizing they are merely victims of history.
So relative to that and relative to some of the points that are raised in the poem, in your view, is God black?
No, God is an abstraction and is any color you wish to make him on the physical plane. That is, he is in the eye of the beholder. For Ethiopians, Jesus Christ is the color of an Ethiop with a frizzly afro, whereas the Scandinavian conceives him to be a blue-eyed blonde. Likewise, in southern India, Krishna and Rama are black, whereas in the north, these two figures are represented with a much paler hue. They are all, however, cultural abstractions on a different plane that interact with those on the physical plane. The various prophets sent to various peoples around the world typically are of the same hue as the people they were initially sent to. The Prophet Muhammad was physically looked like an Arab, of course, but he had no pretensions at being a god.
And lastly, how does this podcast relate to the Rising Star Initiative?
Okay, part of the Rising Star Initiative is to increase the self-esteem of tropical peoples. Understanding that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, a glorified reflection, so to speak, rather than an imposed set of characteristics devised by a non-tropical peoples, namely white skin, thin lips, long straight hair, etc., is therefore essential.
All right, thank you for those responses, Dr. Poe. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. Please tune in next time where we'll talk about the Afro-Brazilian art of capoeira and why you should learn it. Again, I'm Dr. Kamal Rashid, and I look forward to you continuing on this journey with us.